For the last few days we've been up in those hills behind us. That's the Chimanimani region, a very remote region that's really only accessible by helicopter because many of the roads were washed away. And the people there who are trapped in these cut-off communities are angry and frustrated. They're saying that they were not given enough warning that there was a cyclone coming and that they haven't now been given enough help and support after it has hit. They have tickets to get in, but they really wanted to be down here because they say it was part of history to be involved in this re-election rally for the president. And it is a party atmosphere. You can probably hear the band behind me. They've been playing music, they've been cheering, they've been chanting. It's a hot day out in the sunshine, but the people here seem undeterred. They seem ready for a party. Donald Trump tweeted about it earlier. He said that this evening was going to be wild. Some harrowing testimony we've heard during the course of this trial, including from witnesses who used to work with the drug lord El Chapo, some of them testifying that he was complicit, that he even carried out acts of torture and murder against rivals. Well, here they are, the women's football team that won the World Cup just 3 days ago. This is their second parade in New York City. The last one was 4 years ago when they won the World Cup then. It's a momentous day, it's a day of celebration, but despite all of it in the background, the debate over equal pay is still going on. You only need to spend a few minutes here to realise how desperate the situation is. It's as if the people living here have swapped one hell for another. Yes, they have escaped the fighting, but the camp has its own dangers and difficulties to deal with. Morning, Susanna. Yes, that's right. I'm just half a mile away from the nightclub where Ross King is this evening, and it is thought that if perhaps the nightclub had been further from this hospital, then perhaps the death toll could have been higher. Some incredible tales of people carrying their friends the half mile from the club to the hospital. Well, John, not quite as bad, but we did see the markets really run out of steam towards the end of the day. Throughout the course of the trading day, there was seesawing between gains and losses. Those trade negotiations really weighing on the markets, as were geopolitics as a whole. Well, if anything, I think the biggest theme is there's nothing new here. That's the big takeaway. These are all very similar themes. It's essentially a greatest hits of what he says he's achieved over the last couple of years. We heard him talking about how he's done well with the economy, how he's created jobs, how he's remained tough on his stance when it comes to countries like Iran and the trade with China. It has been a day, as it was on Saturday, of anger and confusion for many people here, people who've been directly affected, but also for the protesters here, many of them are Muslims, and they simply say that they wanted to come down here to show their solidarity for what they feel is a deeply unfair policy from the Trump administration. It's a huge undertaking bringing the whole of the Security Council to countries as unstable as Somalia and South Sudan. They do it because they say they want to see the situation firsthand so they can redouble their efforts when they return to New York. Congress has ruled that all 5 9/11 defendants, indeed all of the remaining 41 detainees at Guantanamo Bay, cannot be transferred to US soil for trial. A law change would be needed to overturn that, and that's something that currently seems unlikely. Yes, it's a tough time for Hillary Clinton. Going into New Hampshire, she is not expected to do well. Her rival, Bernie Sanders, seems to have an unassailable lead. The polls say almost double the amount of support that Hillary Clinton has. She only narrowly beat him in the last vote a week ago in Iowa. That was the first in the nation. She beat him by just 0.2%. Well, it's a very fast-changing situation here in Watertown this evening. In the last 45 minutes, we've heard gunshots coming from just a short distance away behind me. This collection of tents might not look like the most comfortable place in the world, but for the 150 men who are sleeping in there, it's the best bed they've had all week. The Gurkhas returned here to Camp Bastion last night, and we were here to see them come along the road. This is Korogocha, one of Nairobi's main slums, where more than 100,000 people live in very close, cramped and difficult conditions. And over the years, HIV and AIDS has only made that harder for the men, women and children who live here. But because she was such a seasoned politician, they felt that going up against the likes of Donald Trump, a TV reality star, she would have an easy shoo-in to the White House. That has obviously not been the case, and we're seeing a huge upset tonight, one that will be very well received upstairs in the ballroom when Donald Trump takes to the stage. Early indications at this stage seem to be that the Defence of Marriage Act, or DOMA, might be in trouble. There was 2 hours of legal arguments earlier on today where the 9 justices heard legal arguments for and against. The makeup of the bench is 4 Liberal justices and 4 Conservative justices, and there's one there in the middle who seems to be undecided. There is a different atmosphere in Washington this time round compared to 4 years ago. Then, when President Obama came to power on his hope and change promise, he made history by becoming the first black president to be elected.